bureaucratic obstacles usually seen in a government organization is indeed a valuable case study for professionals. To talk about this, we have with us a professional who scripted this success story. I have great pleasure in introducing Mr. Sudhanshu Mani, the speaker of this afternoon. Uh, Mr. Mani uh, is retired uh, in the apex grade of Government of India from the Indian Railway Service of Mechanical Engineering as General Manager, Integral Coach Factory at Chennai after serving the railways for 38 years. He also served as railway advisor in the Embassy of India, Berlin, for 3 years, interacting on railway systems in Europe and other advanced countries on behalf of the Indian Railways. He is a fellow of Institute of Mechanical Engineering, London. Sorry. He led the Train 18 or Vande Bharat Express project, the first ever indigenous semi-high speed train of India, from concept to delivery. The details of this unique project is recounted in his bestseller, My Train 18, Train 18 as it was called. And those interested can read this book. It is advisable, it is available on Amazon. I believe BMA has procured some copies of the book. Mr. Mani has authored 6 more books, including one each on art and railways, uh, and greening of environments, and another one on collation of works of Ghalib and Shakespeare. So you can expect to hear some good shairi also in his talk. And after retirement, Mr. Mani is engaged in advisory role in corporate world, technical, strategic, and investment consulting, and of course, writing and speaking. I will not take much of time and would invite Mr. Mani to present the success story of the first Vande Bharat train and its leadership lessons, because there are plenty you'll find in his talk. I've had the privilege of hearing him in LMA and elsewhere, and I'm sure you would have a great number of takeaways from his presentation. Before I hand over to Mr. Mani, I would request that please write your questions in the chat box, which Mr. Mani will take after his talk. Over to Mr. Sudhanshu Mani.
Good evening, Mr. Mathur, and good evening to all those present here virtually. Due to initiative taken by Mr. Mathur of LMA, and thanks to Mr. Yadav and Mr. Jayant Ji, who was in touch with me, I'm here to talk to you about whatever little leadership and innovation related tips one can take away. I'll now share my screen. I hope it's visible now on full screen.
Yes, it is visible. Yeah.
Yes, visible.
All right.
Thank you.
And the slide has now moved.
Yes.
So, ladies and gentlemen, to expect that far people like you would listen to me patiently just because I have a story to tell is like expecting that a bull will not charge you because you are a vegetarian. I am very much impressed by these lines of Mark Twain. And the interesting part is there is nothing so interesting, not even half so interesting as the human mind. In India, you cannot ignore Indian Railways. Love it, hate it, love to hate it, love to love it. But it's not an organization you can ignore. There is a time regime. JNG told me we can bust it a little. Nevertheless, please remember, I retired from railway service 5 years back, but I'm a railway man for life. And as a railway man, I have an inherent right to be derailed. So any attempt to derail me is not going to work. I'm not a great speaker, but I make that up by borrowing from the wisdom down the ages, poet uncles, as I call them. My oldest uncle is about 650 years old, the poet Kabir. I have an English uncle who's 450 years old, Shakespeare. And I have a very young uncle who comes from Delhi and he's about 250 years old. He's called Ghalib. The story is, as I said, I, I, I tend to think that I've done some things in life thanks to the team with me. But whenever I'm called to speak and I want to speak about something else, I'm told to speak only about the train. So it is an old wine in new bottle, same terroir, same wine, same body. But you cannot teach an old dog new tricks. And I do believe that the wine of this story is like good wine, which matures with age. And like good men, we mature with age. So does this story. The story does not turn to vinegar. So I will now begin what I call my quasi Sarkari talk. I'm sure all of you do believe that India is going to be a developed country by the end of Amrit Kal, that is before 2047. It's no longer a question of if, it's only a question of when, and when before 2047. Fair enough. The only question, only if, is whether this development of ours, for which the signs are not too good, would be inclusive enough. And that is something we all have to keep in mind, in my view. Before I begin my story, I would recall these words of Portia from The Merchant of Venice. If to do were as easy as to know what were good to do, if to do were as easy as to know what were good to do, chapels had been churches and poor man's cottages, princesses' palaces. In the same vein, if to do were as easy as to come and lecture to you, poor people, ... I'll not do that. I'll only try to speak about whatever little I've been able to achieve thanks to a wonderful team which was always bequeathed to me, afforded to me. And do remember, these words which I'm going to put on the screen now have always resounded, have always influenced me so much. And those are the words of the people's president. The dream is not the thing you see in sleep, but is that thing that doesn't let you sleep. Here's some data about Indian Railways, which I'll not go into, except just look at this number, 8.5 billion passengers per year, which is like everybody on earth travels Indian Railways once. There's a lot of hype and a lot of reality too about the progress being done in the front of railway, in the railway front. There are strong reasons to do that as Indian Railways develops to meet the expectations of the economy of the nation, not as a mere transporter of people and goods. But whether these strong reasons do make strong actions, there's a question mark, because do remember, as my uncle has said, action is eloquence, and eloquence can never be action. And also, whether are we learning enough from the past, because past is prologue. It is necessary to learn lessons to benefit from the past and avoid repeating the mistakes. Get a head start by learning from past experiences. I'll begin with what is you are familiar with, the Make in India, which this government started in 2014 with the aim to make India a manufacturing hub, a factory of the world. Some successes, definitely a lot of failures, not coming up to expectation. Then came COVID, and this was rejigged into Atmanirbhar Bharat, with the hope that these lions of India would roar into self-reliance. Infusion of money in people's pockets, collateral-free loan, and so many things were done, which I don't understand. I'm sure some of you do. I'll talk about the spirit of Atmanirbhar Bharat, which generally goes missing. I'll start with the example of Indian Railways, which I'm most familiar with. So whatever runs on track, a locomotive, a train, or whatever moves, nearly everything is manufactured in India today. But all of that, every single rolling stock, we call it, whatever moves on the train, the brain behind that rolling stock, the technology, was always borrowed or purchased and lies somewhere outside India, in Europe, US, or Japan. What you do is you buy 30, 40, then you buy CKDs, PKDs, assemble them. All drawing specifications are transferred to you. There are protocols which are told to you, vendor protocol, test protocols, and everything, process sheets, and so on. They come and take lectures in shop floor. You also go and visit their factories abroad, which unfortunately are more of jaunts and picnics abroad. The upshot is, why I call transfer of technology an oxymoron is, in spite of decades of manufacturing in India, even after decades, we are not able to manufacture to the standard we imported. And why is that? My take there is very simple, that, ladies and gentlemen, technology is nothing but simply a creation. And that lives in the mind as well as the heart of the creator, and there is no technology to transfer that. One poet has said, and I'll translate it as well, मेरे शेर आईना खाने में तेरी बेशुमार अदाओं के. I can go poetic about your beauty. मेरे शेर आईना खाने में तेरी बेशुमार अदाओं के, मगर ऐसी भी है कोई अदा जो रहेगी सीना-ए राज. There is some elegance in your beauty between you and me, which would remain buried in the recesses of my heart, and nobody is going to get access to that. And therefore, good or bad, unless the gap is too large, see, we are stuck between being mindlessly global or hopelessly local. The truth, to my mind, is somewhere between the two, closer to being local, not hopelessly local, hopefully local. What I call create your own. As I said, unless the gap is too large, make your own with pride and ownership. And that can make you do 110, 120, 125% more than what you are otherwise capable of. That is the power of ownership and pride. We also need a little bit of agitation, restlessness. That restlessness can take you to tranquility one day. Shajar hajar ka jumud hasti payam ibrat hai ghafilon ko. This existence of stones and trees may be a message for the ignorant. पर जिसे तलाशे सुकून नहीं है, भला वो क्या बेकरार हो. One who's not looking for peace will not be agitated. But one who's looking for peace and tranquility has to face restlessness. That said, the merit of creating your own, I come to a very basic question, ladies and gentlemen, and that is very simple. To do anything, anywhere. Anywhere. It's not engineering or technology, just about anywhere, including your home. What do you need first and foremost for any venture? Obviously, I'm sure you would say that you need vision, leadership, all these things. Definitely. Without this, you're not going anywhere. But I qualify it, culled from my experience in life and work, is you must love the people you work with. Those above, those below, your colleagues, everyone. You love what you do. Love your organization. And for some reason, if you don't, quit unless it's a serious bread and butter issue. Because not doing what you love to do is such a disservice to yourself as well as the organization. Now, as a leader, all of us are leaders. It doesn't matter how many people report to us. If you are dealing with human beings, you're a leader, clients, suppliers, whoever. It's not very natural for human beings to love each other. It's not a very natural trait. But as a leader, if you manufacture it, if you construct it, if you contrive to do it, the dividends you get are phenomenal. Because in spite of all this chat GPT and AI and so on, God knows what's going to happen in future. As of now, human resource is definitely your most important reserve, the most important resource. And unless they are with you, you're not going anywhere. एक लफ्ज़ से मोहब्बत का अदना ये फसाना है. This word love has this very brief story. एक लफ्ज़ से मोहब्बत का अदना ये फसाना है. सिमटे तो दिले आशिक, फैले तो जमाना है. If it shrinks, it is the heart of a lover. But if it expands, it is the world. I'm reminded of these lines of Celia from As You Like It. I could willingly waste my time. I like it here, could willingly waste my time in it. We are not here in this world to waste our time. We are here to find some meaning and deliver something. So it was very easy for me as a part of this organization. You would remember that fight for that window seat, that scramble as the marvel, the magic, the wonder of Indian Railways passed you by. Desolate here, crowded there. Valleys, mountains, riverfalls, deserts, what not. Hard work, grind, sloth, indolence. Mourning, pathos, celebration, joy. So much so that the journey itself becomes the destination, the objective, not the destination. And in the train, unlike the train I'm going to talk to you about, in our trains, you can, in a moving train, open the door and look back at a snaking train, and it is still capable of giving you goosebumps. Even today, a station platform, unlike a modern bus station or an airport, which have developed far too much more than stations, is still a great leveler, as the richest to the poorest stand next to each other to catch the same train. In Tempest, Antonio says that travelers never did lie, but fools at home condemn. If you're not really enamored by these views you have from the windows of an Indian Railways train, perhaps you are a prisoner of your confines and conflicts. That said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here to talk to you about this romance. I'm here to talk to you about this. The recall, the image of an Indian Railways trains. I'm talking after independence. Let's not even talk about what happened before independence. Has not changed. It's the same box type train. If you look at, close your eyes, this is what you see. Color has changed from Gulf red to blue, more AC coaches, some German technology, but the recall has remained the same. I'm a railway child, late 60s, early 70s, when I was a teenager, or even smaller. I always looked at the railway magazines and the trains from Japan or Germany and used to wonder, with such a large network, such a large number of employees and such a large network which we boast of, when is India going to have a modern, aesthetically superior, technologically advanced, modern train? And that became, ladies and gentlemen, the angst that I had, and also the seed of the story I'm going to tell you. But do remember that in any organization, love is fine, but change alone is something that's truly permanent. In government, as you know, the horses and donkeys move in the same line. and 5% of them actually get a chance to be thrown up as a general manager, which is like an institution in Indian Railways. People wait to be that, to do things, or enjoy the fruits of office. In 2016, August, this donkey got a chance to be thrown up as a general manager. Normally, one likes to go to a zone. Like if you're in Bombay, you have two zones, Western and Central Railway. Used to be much bigger. They're smaller. Still, they are colonial fiefdoms. Nobody wants to go to poor factories also, which have general managers. So I went to the chairman railway board and requested. He looked at me and he thought I'm here to ask for a zone. I told him, please post me at Integral Coach Factory, Chennai, the largest factory of Indian Railways. And he was happy because it was easy for him to do that. And that's what happened. I landed in Integral Coach Factory in August of 2016, set up in 1955 after a long time of setting up as a factory to make coaches of current technology. But his dream was not matched by any vision or action plan by railwaymen like me. It kept doing more of the same, large numbers, expansion, but more of the same, not much variety or technology. The gentleman you see in the center with the garland is Premier Chow En-lai of China, who visited ICF in 1955. And he wrote in the visitor's book, left side, that this is something every Orient should be proud of. And I would like Chinese engineers to come and learn how to make coaches. This, after Limca Book of Record today ICF holds the world record of having turned out the maximum number of coaches in the world. From one premises, number has gone up to 70,000, but more of the same. So this is what Chow En-lai said, and where have we reached today? I don't know how many of you have seen this cartoon. It appeared in a German magazine, Austrian actually, and it says, you can look at the picture, it says, Bevölkerung Indien überholt China. Population, India overtakes China, and you can as well see what a bad taste the cartoon is in. Or remember the words of Sam Altman when he was in the news and he came here. He says it's completely hopeless for you to challenge us. But in the same breath, he also said, however, it is your responsibility to still make the attempt. We have to pause and look back as to why we have reached where we have. Well, hierarchical culture, lack of scientific thinking, copy, so many things which I have written down, you can write your own. I leave it at there, but definitely a time for to pause and look back. For an example, where China was in 1950s and where we were, and where China is today, where we are. So I was invited within a week of my joining to speak at IIM Kolkata on being a government CEO. I didn't know what a CEO was. I was a Sarkari man. I did my internet research and found that thanks to empowerment given by this government, thanks to authority afforded to the GMs, what a GM of Indian Railways can do today exceeds that of the CEO of a large organization, private organization. Well, there is two ways to look at it. What's in a name? As my uncle has said, a rose would smell as sweet or as rotten. After all, we are government servants in name, but we are here to enjoy the fruits of office, not to deliver. हमको मालूम है जन्नत की हकीकत, लेकिन दिल के खुश रखने वो ख्याल अच्छा है. Or you look at the vast canvas afforded to you with a variegated palette of colors for you to paint it in shades and hues of your like. This was something I, with my team, was trying to believe in, and that's how the story got started. Well, it is very easy when I land. I didn't need to open it like an oyster sword, and with sword, as my uncle has said, it's so easy because the government of India and railways are so much steeped in bureaucracy and feudal systems. There's so much of boundaries, proprieties, hierarchy, walls, levels, and so on, all prescribed to us by the Britishers, keeping themselves in mind, and we still follow that. So it was very easy. All you have to do is shed this and adopt some empathy and openness. What you see on the left side is where in the main lobby, where the janitor used to keep his brooms and buckets. I threw that out and made this family treats, nothing but 12,000 employees of our ICF, one face, one mug, nobody bigger or smaller. It became a selfie point for people to come and zoom their photos and take a photo with their family. All in alphabetical order. Even I had to struggle to find my mug. But all it did was give us great sense of belongingness in that organization. Well, I said it's a 10,000 crore enterprise. 0.5% is mine, which I'll spend to improve facilities in the factory and in the colony and everywhere. It's dilapidated. I'll bring more sanctions also every year, 600, 700 crores. So the second in command told me that you have good ideas. Go ahead and do that. Plus, we don't interfere with production, please. So I had a lot of time. I would just take a walk in the factory. In one walk, maybe I would meet, there were two large factories. One walk, maybe I would meet about 500 workers. Now, GM is a ceremonial guy. So he visits the factory to cut ribbons or sit on days. So nobody knows his face, maybe not even his name. So I would just simply go and ask them one question, which I was forbidden by my people never to ask. And the question was very simple. Any problem? They said you'll be flooded with so many problems in this industrial, with these industrial workers that you won't be able to handle it. But to my surprise and to everyone's surprise, the answer all the time, 99% of the time was no problem, sir. If there was some problem with some light or toilet, somebody following me would attend to it. But all it did, this simple exercise cost me nothing. I had time, was only to build a bond which has never been built, even since independence. And the dividends were going to be phenomenal. There were simple measures like these, which for which at least I've never been through any intensive management course. I don't know. These simple measures based simply in the ethos of empathy and openness is what I was trying to follow. One last thing, there were many examples. I'll go into one more. You see, in government, we, learning from the politicians, we tend to immortalize ourselves. Whenever a new facility is launched, we like to put our name on the plaque. And when I put, the fellow launching puts his name, then other underlings also put their name. Even the Thekadar, the contractor, also puts his name in the hope that it will immortalize them. So I called for the engineer within a week of joining. I said, okay, we are 70 years old. Please go around the factory and colony and everywhere and count all the plaques that you have with the name of an executive, chairman, railway board, members, secretary, GM himself, HODs, whoever. Leave alone the politicians. They have to glorify themselves. And tell me how many of, put all your men on job. Don't miss even one. Tell me how many are there. He thought maybe I'm going to, get some shine or something and put them in good fettle. Or he next day he comes and tells me there are 165 odd such plaques. So I told him, okay, put all your men on the job. I give you till evening. Extract all these plaques and throw them in the dust because that's where they belong. From now on, we are going to spend a lot of money. If it's a huge thing, maybe above 1 crore. If it's sports, some sportsman from Chennai. If it's a cultural place, some great Bharatanatyam dancer. If it's something else to do with engineering, maybe some great engineer. But no politician, no bureaucrat. They will come, a luminary will come and inaugurate it only with their name on the plaque, nobody else's. And all other, anything less than 1 crore perhaps would be done, launched by the senior most member of that area, staff member, who's perhaps going to retire soon, and only his name would be there on the plaque. He is the one who's given his blood, sweat, and tears to the area. He would come with his spouse or her spouse, children, parents, stand next to that plaque with tearful eyes and take back with him a memory which will last him lifetime. And that's what happened. So we did more than 500 such launches or inaugurations in those 2.5 years. And if one man has influence over 110, then half the factory was won over by this simple means which cost us nothing. Only, as I said, shedding the cobwebs left in our mind by the Britishers and adapt openness and empathy. I show you this picture. Some of you would remember it. This is Manani Rahul Gandhi going and hugging the Prime Minister in the Parliament. Oh, that's not important. What's important is what the Prime Minister said. The Prime Minister said that आज पता लगा कि गले लगने और गले पड़ने में क्या फर्क है. I would simply go and gale pado these people, and that gave me dividends. Now, in any organization, you would have heard of the square root rule, that the square root of the number of employees, if you have 110, do 50% of the work. I don't quite believe that is true. I would say about 20-25% of the staff are so self-motivated in any organization, be it government as well. They can work 18 hours a day. You cannot motivate them. Any attempt to motivate them is perhaps going to demotivate them. All you need to do is give them a pat on their back or some guidance if they require. Other 70%, don't look at them. They look at 2-3% who would not work, who are there on your screen, that kind of people. If there is a premium on performance, or is there a punishment for no performance?
मेरी उधर वो जैकेट रखी है वो साथी चला.
Excuse me? Excuse me, somebody was saying something?
It's okay, sir. I think it was a...
Okay, I thought it was something for me. All right. Where was I? Yeah. So now in government, we also have perhaps another organization, a system of trying to punish people. People who like this, who don't work. Now, I said there's nothing like a punishment in an organization. There are only two options. Either you reform the person, and if there is no promise of reform, sack him or her. You would say that in government you cannot sack people. That's not correct. Having consulted with private organization now for 5 years, I know it's more difficult to check out people in private than in government. All you need to do is follow the procedure. Diligently, assiduously follow a principle, and you can do that. So we were able to throw out. I said the power not to sack somebody who has been issued with a charge sheet is withdrawn. I don't want to punish people and keep them in the organization to draw it back, act as a back EM. Either I reform or throw him out. Nothing in between. We were able to sack 165 people. And that was a message to those other 68% that they must do their 4 or 5 hours of work. They are not going to do as much work as the self-motivated one. But at least they would contribute to the organization to some extent through their work. You must show your...
Please mute yourself. Please mute yourself.
Yeah. Okay. So where was I? Yeah. So my uncle has said that nothing emboldens sin so much as mercy, if I can add misplaced mercy. Love is fine, But for those 2-3%, you have to deal with them with an iron hand. क्षमा शोभती उस भुजंग को जिसके पास गरल हो. क्षमा, mercy, भुजंग, snake, गरल, poison. क्षमा शोभती उस भुजंग को जिसके पास गरल हो, उसका क्या जो दंतहीन, विष रहित, विनीत और सरल हो. You have to show your fangs. Mercy can come later if there are some justified cases of starvation or whatever. So as I was saying, we were able to sack 170 such people. And that had an influence on those 68% that yes, they also have to be there to contribute. Only one caveat. It is excellent to have, as my uncle has said, a giant strength, but it is tyrannous to use it like a giant. There's another fashion we have in organization, which is to mandate and command ideation. Learning from Japanese or German, we like to do that. You cannot command it. You can only encourage it, which we don't. That is, we don't listen. We talk. We talk and talk. And even if we listen, even if we hear, it doesn't register. All you need to do is give a platform to everyone. Because everyone has ideas. Every single man has ideas. We forget. An idealist man like me in a new job has to build an agenda, will just talk to everyone that works there. Everyone has ideas. You collect all those ideas, choose what you like, and your agenda is done. That's the power of ideation. If you don't command it, if you simply encourage it. And we were able to do it with tremendous advantage. If time permitting, I'll talk to you about. But the next thing is also steeped in our colonial culture. You see, when the Indians started coming to position of power, they were not to be trusted. That's why this system of rules, regulations, audit, vigilance, and so on. We have not shed that. Even after independence, we have still keep the same system. Has the corruption gone down? No. The corruption is going up. And deliveries don't happen. It's time to give trust a chance. And I can assure you, some people may misuse it, but a man in leadership position and whatever he has to execute has to be given complete freedom. I assure you, some people will misuse it, but by and large, corruption will come down and things will start getting done. Just a simple example. There are 5,000 plus parts which go into a train, and the supply chain, one can never say is always the biggest problem. So I said, there is complete trust in you two guys. Whatever you decide, however you want to procure something, through a loan tender, through a multiple tender, through limited tender, through advertised open tender, whatever, you are the last word. The GM, the HODs, the stores, the finance guys are mere signatories by a verbal order. What you decide has to be done. And let me tell you, because of this, we reap great dividends, because supply chain was definitely a problem, but it never became a problem that could stall or delay the project greatly. It's time, I would say to the national leaders, it's time to have complete trust in leaders that you appoint. You do all your exercise you want to before appointing a leader in whichever position. But once appointed, you have to have complete trust in that gentleman. I'll come to this jalebi part if we get in question and answer. It's all about dealing with nonsense in any organization, but I'm skipping this for the time being, using all these measures and a simple formula that whenever you get a new assignment, you always look for men. Whereas I say, don't look for men. I said, I'm not going to appoint a single man. I am 12,000 by the time I leave. I have to make it 10,000 because I know how much government people work. And even Modi ji cannot come and make them work full 8 hours with productivity. So, less men the better, as too many cooks spoil the broth. The result, with other measures, of course, was the productivity nearly 3 times. You see, the number of men required to make a coach came down from 8 to 9 to as low as 2.5. And the production, in terms of numbers, really went up. Using some solar power and wind energy installation, we make our factory the only factory on Indian railways which is carbon negative, consuming 12.5, producing through regenerative means to a 13 megawatt. We revived a lake which was dying for last 30, 40 years through community and government effort. And pelicans which used to come to that lake and had abandoned it for 30 to 40 years because it used to stink to the seventh heaven thanks to sewerage. If you were dumped in it from by authorized colonies, which I got stopped and did my political battle with AI, DMK, MP, and DMK, MLA, and so on. Upshot was the factory became a picnic spot. We made a pathway around it. Pelicans started coming again. And in 2019, when all of Chennai had a great water shortage, I'm happy to tell you that this lake never dried up and still had water. One last thing before I come to the real story, which will only take about 12 to 15 minutes, not more than that, is we have this lip service of equality of women. It's not a question of lip service anymore. We have this in government system of dealing with Vipasha, dealing with the cases of harassment, gender-based discrimination at work, which goes into inquiry, deposition, and so on, and nothing much usually comes out. I said, I'm not the Supreme Court Chief Justice of India. I'm merely an administrator, and so are my executives. If we learn of a case, and we will keep our ears and eyes open, if we learn of a case, all we need is 4 hours to determine if the complaint is genuine. It's not even a complaint. We have heard of it. I don't want any written complaint. I don't want no statement. And if the complaint or if the case is found to be genuine through informal inquiries, I give myself 4 hours. Using the power given by the government of India to sack somebody, if we were able to record that an inquiry is not possible, and we would record that an inquiry is not possible because we don't want the lady employee to relive that horror. And using that, we were able to sack 4 people thrown out of ICF. And that sent a message to the women employees. They came and said, we have been appointed as fitters, welders, technicians, but we are used like helpers by these men. I said, what do you want to do? So make separate gangs and we'll prove we can do better work than men. So many light job, computer job, plumbing job, birth making job, and so many things were given, and they really did it. What I leave with you is 29 Chennai women, aged 23 to 57, supervised by a lady supervisor and a lady officer, through heavy lifting and welding, building a railway coach entirely on their own, as you see on the picture. And the pride they had in their work, as it was splashed all over the media in Chennai, was, you can see in the photo here, dressed like Air Force pilots. Any organization which doesn't respect women as complete equals, no questions asked, is not going far. One last word about more of the same. We used to export to countries against Indian line of credit, mostly, not through competitive bidding. If I can say, less developed countries. One example of Sri Lanka, when we exported to Sri Lanka, always our trains were put to the Chinese, next to the Chinese train, and we were the whipping boys for poorer technology, poorer aesthetics. And I challenged the team that this time what we export to Sri Lanka must stand up to the Chinese counterpart train with its head held high. And the team got to work. That's the power of teamwork, ladies and gentlemen. What you see on the right bottom is what we exported to Sri Lanka in 2018. When I visited Sri Lanka in 2022, 4 years after retirement, 3.5 years after retirement, I met some of the Sri Lankan engineers out of curiosity, and they told me what ICF had sent them in 2018 is superior in technology as well as aesthetics to the Chinese train. We all have concerns because things don't work. It's a large circle. It's all right, as citizens we must have, but we forget the small dot of influence that we have, where we can do something, consumed by concerns. Why curse darkness, as the Chinese saying goes, light a little candle of yours to remove darkness around you. Don't worry about the darkness all around the world. शिकवा जुल्मत शब्द से कहीं बेहतर था. शिकवा complaint, जुल्मत darkness, शब evening. शिकवा जुल्मत शब्द से कहीं बेहतर था कि अपने हिस्से की एक शमा जलाते जाते. Time for me to light that torch had come, heading the largest factory in the world. And that's when I come to dream. When we talk of dreams, we tell the youngsters, go and live your dreams. I modify it to say, don't go and live in your dream. Look after your bread and butter, look after your daily life, your family. But don't let the dream die. Let it not be extinguished. Let it linger. An opportunity will come your way to realize your dream someday. As it came for me at this stage, 2.5 years before my retirement. And if I did not do anything about it today, at that point, then it was not a dream. It was a pipe dream. And so I had the dream. I thought the vision, a fortune. Because a great set of staff, doing more of the same, had learned so much. They had ennui written on their face, boredom of doing more of the same. They had the chutzpah to try something new. All I needed was to channelize that energy. A great opportunity, the platform of this factory, but there were doubts. As the team chose itself, very competent people, some of them told me that, okay, you are the general manager, you have a lot of power and so on. You can build this new train, which will have no locomotive. It's a train set, run at 180 kilometers per hour, commercial run at 160. But it's a new animal, different from whatever is built today. So you can spend all the money, but before that, you need a stamp of railway board. I said, yeah, as your leader, that's not a problem. I'm going to get you that stamp. But I didn't account for the negativity, the cynicism in board. We were not getting any. We were not getting the sanction. We sent it in November 16 to board. November 16. March 17, we still did not have it. They thought I was spinning a yarn, looking for publicity. I won't be able to do it, so imports would also not happen. So I went to the chairman. I said, do you think we can do it? He said, yes, I think you can. But other board members are not letting me do it. This is the same chairman who had posted me there, Mr. Mittal. God bless his soul, he is no more. So I told him, you are the chairman, you import whatever you want. Who am I to stop you? But give me a sanction for 2 trains. I'll build it at 1/3 the cost of your import. And you will come here before your retirement in July 18 to come and cut the ribbon of this train, unveil it. While he was wavering, of course, it was a lie. It could not have been done in 14, 15 months. But nevertheless, as he was wavering, I grabbed his feet. I said, I'm not leaving it till you give me the sanction. Now, people ask me, did you actually grab his feet? I said, well, that's between him and me. You really want to investigate and determine it, you'll have to go up and find from him. But the spirit is very simple, ladies and gentlemen. By grabbing his feet, I was enhancing my pride. Because pride makes you feel good. You look at everyone with happiness. I go back with the sanction. And my staff would look up at me and start work. That's pride. And vanity diminishes you because you try to elevate yourself at the expense of others by cursing others or by belittling others. So by grabbing his feet, I was only killing my vanity, which one of you would kill in any case someday. So why not kill it yourself today? So we have the sanction, and I come back to the staff who are excited, but they say there is one problem. And what's that? He said the problem is that this has never been tried. It's a new animal. We have never designed anything like that. If it fails, who will be the scapegoat? I said, well, I am retiring in December 18. Which better scapegoat can you find? They said, okay, that excited them. You see, the problem always is, of course, after retirement also they tried something, but that's besides the point. How do we define success? Success is always defined in terms of outcome of value. And not not being able to realize that outcome of value, which is not totally in your hands, you're always afraid to attempt. Whereas if you have given everything, your commitment, your passion, your hard work, your everything, you have succeeded. You may fail once, which is not in your hand. But eventually, if you're giving your everything, success cannot be far away. My uncle has said that our doubts are traitors which make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. गिरते हैं शह सवार ही मैदान जंग में वो तिफल क्या गिरे जो घुटनों के बल चले. Doubting ourselves prevents us from attempting, and so many projects, so many ideas die because we are afraid of that outcome of value, which is totally not in our hands. Giving our best is in our hands. Well, that excited them enough, but that brought another question, and that was, not knowing something is not shameful, but pretending to know everything is. Yes. There are 150 items which go into a train. Because of the industry which had come up, much more than Indian Railways, we would be able to tackle most of it. You see that what is the train set? It is only coaches. There, like a regular train which is locomotives attached, detached as per requirement, but a train set, all the equipment is under the board, below the board. Everything above is used for passenger amenities. Only two cabs in the ends, and you can go from one coach to the other, or the entire 16 coach length you can pass through a sealed gangway, unlike the rickety vestibule you have. And you will not feel that you have crossed a coach. There's no reversal required. Number of coaches get reduced because there are no locomotives. There are no power cars that you see in Shatabdi and Rajdhani. That's all under the board in the train itself. So there's so many advantages, but it was never getting done because of two reasons. Departmental warfare, that is not a locomotive, not a coach. So who will be the master? Who will be the master of this train? And let the interest of the country go to hell. And of course, the import lobby. They would always think we'll not be able to do it, so better import. All this discussion was going on for 25, 30 years. The private industry in the country had grown up. So we were riding on their shoulders apart from our own competent staff. Much more on them than our own staff. But there were three areas where we felt we were not up to the mark. We would need some hand holding. And there, this saying comes in through very much, that not knowing something is not shame. So we engage consultants, not companies. Companies have an interest to go on supplying. Consultants help you design, and that's it. They want to give you a good design. We engage consultants. It worked very well. Only caveat was that every line that you draw, every word that you write with our people would always be with our people, whether through video conferencing or direct contact, so that next time we want to design a train to run at 220 kilometers per hour, they should be able to do it themselves, and it worked wonderfully. It was only these three areas in blue where we needed consultants out of 150 areas which I have truncated here. One last challenge we had before we really started work was a project of this magnitude, you see, ladies and gentlemen, from concept to design to engineer to manufacture to deliver to test to prove out, is a matter of 36 to 42 months. It has to be done in a series. So they said, you are retiring in December 18. We have started work in April of 17. By the time you retire, the drawings would have been made. Manufacturing would not have started. The next leader would say, why are you purchasing this trouble? Why do you want to make this train? Who asked you? Go and do more of the same. Why take that risk? And then where would we be? Because our hard work go down the drain. I said, yes, that's a problem. And there's only one solution. And that solution lies in the Indian mind and the Indian hard work. Whereas the mind might not have reached where German or the Japanese mind has. But all over the world, Indians have proved that they can really work hard. If I can use the phrase, work like donkeys, all over the world. So we will work like donkeys. We will burn our midnight oil. And we will do something which has never been done in the world earlier. And that is, we will turn out this train before I retire. We have 21 months to do it. In calendar year 2000 itself, the train must go out. All of us will work together to do it. And to remind everyone that the train is going out in calendar year 2018, we gave it a name, and it was called Train 18. After that, I come to the end of my story because it was just 18 months of roadblocks, hitches, glitches, but opportunities, synergy, and all working together with synergy. I'll give only one example. You see, so we had foreign consultants, Indian industry, all suited, booted people. All we never did our meetings in air-conditioned rooms, which ICF has many conference halls and so on. We said we will go and do this meeting right where the train was being built, in that Chennai heat, to give a message to every single worker engaged in working that we are all in this together. Fortune favors the brave, ladies and gentlemen, and it was exactly in 18 months, living up to its name once again, that the train was unveiled in 2018 October, in a ceremony attended by all family members who were not allowed otherwise to come to the factory in large numbers, 6,000-7,000 of them, taking selfies all over the train corridor as it was unveiled, with that glint of pride in their eyes, because having made 60,000 trains, 60,000 coaches, these people, all the family members felt that it was for the first time that Indians had made a product or a train for India totally by Indians. That every family member felt that pride in it. Well, it was turned out and tested at 180 kilometers per hour plus with flying colors. And it was introduced finally in commercial service in February of 2019 by Prime Minister himself as Vandey Bharat Express between Varanasi and Delhi. I had retired in December. Since then, after that, we made 2 trains, but there was a period of negativity for 3 years. We will not go into that. In August of 2022, it came back on rails. More than 50 such trains have been built already. Nearly 45 or 46 are in service. Nearly 4 years of service since the first train. Not one, only one failure actually, but that's more than 6 sigma if you ask me. It's just a train. It's not Mangalyaan or Chandrayaan or a rocket or a missile, but the love and appreciation it got all over the country seemed to be believed is something we never expected. We were just thought we were trying to do our best to make a world-class or near world-class train, not really world-class. But all that love and appreciation was simply unthinkable for us. Why did it happen? I don't know. We always look back and think it happened because every Indian, non-traveler, traveler alike, looked at the train with some sense of pride as an Indian product. And the Prime Minister, who's there to launch each and every train. What an honor given to a train, if you ask me. Launch each and every train since then, except 1 or 2. Covers it beautifully when he says that Vandey Bharat Express, Train 18, Vandey Bharat Express, represents, symbolizes the spirit of resurgent and aspirational India. My uncle has said that things one are done and joy's soul lies in the doing. So it was great joy doing that work, but every time good people like you invite me to speak about it, you afford me that joy once again. So thank you very much. And I close by saying now that 1,000, 1,000,000 such projects are possible in this country. All it needs is leadership with empathy, passion, commitment, and a sense of purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mani, for your excellent talk as usual. I understand that we have a promising lady participant, Aradhana Lahiri, from Tata Administrative Services, who is a DGM Tata Steel. and is currently engaged in manufacturing some Vande Bharat trains. I'm sure she will have to have something to ask you, Mr. Sudhanshu Mani. We will start the Q&A session with her.
Yeah.
And I will then request Renu, the general manager from LMA, to read out the question from the chat box. And time permitting, we'll take some questions from the audience in person also. So, Aratna, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay, come on. You can ask your question.
Good evening, sir. Pleasure to meet you. I only wanted to seek your blessings towards succeeding in my deliverables to the ICF. So I'm a part of Tata Steel. We manufactured Vande Bharat seats, interior panels, and recently we started a nose cone for supply to ICF.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. A good company like Tata, if it's engaged in improving the seats and interiors of the train, I'm sure it would reach world class. It was near world class when we made it. I never claim it to be world class. It was for our first attempt. So, I mean, definitely all the best, and I hope you do a good job.
Thank you.
Except that there is, please tell your management, I've told earlier also, there is a lot of social media misinformation that you manufacture trains. You should be
Yes.
the one who should correct it, like we just heard. So you make seats and you are now going to make interiors, so you must correct that wrong impression.
Yes.
I know it's not been done by you, but it's there in social media all the time.
Right.
The
Yes.
people ask me question, why have we offloaded manufacture of the train to Tatas? I don't know how to answer that, but all the best, and I'm sure
Thank
you will
you.
do a great job to improve the train.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Larry, you want to ask something?
Yeah, I just put up a little question, Mr. Mani.
Yeah.
I happen to be Aradhana's father.
Excuse me?
I happen to be Aradhana's father who just spoke to you.
Oh, okay. Sure. Go ahead.
So we have 3 generations of Tatas.
Okay.
So just wanted a technical aspect. Like I have written on the chat that with the betterment of technology in the manufacturing of trains,
yeah,
and enhancement in the speeds of trains,
yeah,
is there a simultaneous upgradation in the technology involved of our good old tracks and wooden sleepers that is capable of sustaining such high-speed trains like the Vande Bharat train?
Yeah, okay. Well, wooden sleepers are already a thing of the past. You would notice that they have all been practically all have been replaced by concrete sleepers. But nevertheless, to run trains at 160, there is a certain minimum standard of track which has to be not only provided but also maintained to a certain standard. You need fencing. You see, the train has a right of way on a track, but nevertheless, in our social milieu, human beings and cattle sometimes find their way on the track. And while other trains have an ugly looking cow catcher in front and they throw away the cattle, in case of Vande Bharat, because we have to provide an aerodynamic nose, that kind of structure is not readily possible. And so the train suffers more damage. And it suffers a lot of damage in media because that ugly picture of the damage of the train is projected all over. And it is, some people call it a failure of the train, but it's a social problem. So fencing is a must. And then I also say, I don't know if you've heard of Kavach. Kavach is a great development by RDSO engineers. I give it more credit to our own development of Vande Bharat. It replaces a modern signaling system at 1/4 the cost. And it's a unique system, whereas Vande Bharat equivalents are available in all developed countries, done by them or somebody. Such an equivalent of a signaling system is really not available. It is quite unique to India and has a great potential to export. But the speed of implementation is abysmal, I would say, not good at all. So that, because why? Why is this? Train has a visibility. Prime Minister comes and launches it. Everybody is happy. It's all splashed all over, which is good for the train, and I'm happy. But upgradation of track, upgradation of signaling system have no that kind of leverage as far as media is concerned. I guess that's one of the reasons it's that much stress is not there. We must have that. It will have double advantages, triple advantages of increasing the capacity, increasing the speed, and exploiting the train to what to standard it has been designed for. So that part is not up to the mark. Work is going on, but it needs to be speeded up.
Highly
So,
obliged, sir.
other questions? Renu, would you like to read out the questions?
The question from Mr. Vishnu Kangre, and
Okay.
he also
Yeah, can I ask it?
this was an
Okay.
inspiring and insightful talk, and thank you. Hats off to your energy. And he asking from Mani sir, ki after 5 years, where he see that Vande Bharat is after 5 years.
Yeah, can I add something? You're
Yes.
not associated with it any longer since you have retired, but I can say if you were there or given a chance,
Yeah.
where would you dream it to be 5 years from now? Because it is already matured now, running well. So what next?
Yeah. So at the fear of being called pretentious, I must say what my heart says. So it was first attempt. We tried to make something world class. We never could achieve it world class. We made something which was much better than what we had, but I would not call it world class. Some people do who were not attached with the project, but that's their choice. You see, once again, I have to quote Shakespeare. You see, a fool thinks he's wise, but a wise man knows himself to be a fool. It's better to be a witty fool than a foolish wit. Unless we realize where we are, we won't go up. If we declare, oh, we have matched bullet train, we are like Japanese, then that's where you'll stay and never reach where you intend to. My dream would have been that this time many trains should be running at 160. Would have been that many trains would be running at 160 kilometers per hour. Then two more things, which should have happened in these 5 years, but have not happened. You see, beyond a point, you don't have the clientele for day trains because the fares are higher. It is higher end train. So you cannot run this train spending so much of money than to run it at 30-40% occupation. That's not correct because it's not a cheap train. It is much cheaper than import, but it's not a cheap train. But that started happening because that much clientele is not there, or the trains are being introduced without that kind of analysis whether it will get patronage or not. To get patronage, you have to start replacing Rajdhanis by this train to cut down travel time to make them truly overnight. Like Mumbai, Delhi. You start at 5 o'clock in the evening and reach 9 or 10 o'clock, then half day is gone. To make it truly overnight, you have to start at maybe 7:30 and reach there at 7:30, something like that, 8 o'clock, 13 hours. So you need a sleeper version, which we had started designing. It got abandoned. And then after that, we only hear it is coming next year, it's coming this year, that year. 5 years have passed. I believe it will come this year finally, but I would definitely have liked sleeper trains. And there is another aspect is that the worldwide, the technology in this range is to manufacture aluminum bodied coaches. What we have done is stainless steel. So aluminum is lighter, more durable, aesthetically superior, and that's why more energy efficient because you're carrying less weight. Resale value of aluminum, by the example, although we should not talk of resale as such, but definitely that, redemption after the life is much better. And we had started a project, but we need technology from abroad. We do. It's no good saying that we must do our own because although we are a great aluminum producer, India is, but the machinery and plant, the setup to manufacture large, long extrusions does not exist in the country. If you make large number of aluminum trains, I'm sure somebody like Hindalco or Vedanta or somebody would invest in it and it will become indigenous. So that project to build aluminum trains to be current technology was taken up. It was pursued. One tender was also called recently, but it was dropped and we are back to square. We are back at square one. And we have, not only we don't have, I don't see it happening in near future. So that these are two main things which should have happened. You would hear a lot about Vande Metro, Vande Sadharan Metro, this, that. All those are nothing but permutation combinations of the same design. An incremental improvement towards these two has not happened, which to my mind should have.
Okay, probably I think it will take the likes of another you, maybe a Shishya,
No.
to really
No,
make it happen. No, because
no.
the passion
Anyway,
really came
let's
through that.
let's
I mean,
not.
not that I'm saying it, I'm saying it to your face that you need somebody who tries to make a difference to what is going on to achieve something like this. So
And
again, otherwise it will fall into the groove of Vande Bharat. So more copies of Vande Bharat, more applications of
let
it.
me.
That is what will
Yeah,
happen.
okay, thank you very much, sir. But let me tell you the positive part. So this government believes strongly in railways. Railways financially is in a very poor shape. It does not earn money itself to invest. Hardly any surpluses. Everything comes from government. It's the same budget now. It's not a separate budget. So it's money without any strings attached, no interest payment, and so on. So it's a happy situation to do things. The government is spending 2.62 lakh crore this year, and perhaps in this budget you're going to see it 3 lakh crores. So that kind of environment is available to do betterment of railways.
Uh, Dr. Yadav, you want to say something?
Yeah, sir, first of all, always a great pleasure listening to you and, feeling energized. I mean, the energy that you carry percolates down. A couple of things, sir, I wanted to ask you because, you've been strongly saying that, we cannot start believing that whatever we are doing is world class.
Yes.
Okay. And there's a lot of catching up to be done before we start, superseding it. Now, there are two, the railways as a business always seems to be in a dichotomy. On the one hand, we have the world-class, Japanese and European trains, okay? And to be able to match up to those, what are the areas that we need to work on is what I would like to hear from you. And on the other hand, sir, as you rightly said, you see, India being a country that is more on a socialistic front, okay, the fares, okay, never actually work up to build a revenue that justifies the cost. So, in such a scenario, as a management leader, what would you think is going to be the future? Do you think that
Yeah.
there is no option but to rationalize the fares at some point of time? Or do you think that we will still be able to drag along and sustain for maybe a decade or two more? So, would love
Yeah,
to listen hear from you.
what I will tell you simply what comes from my heart. It may not be people may find it as impractical, may not believe in it. So first question is simpler to answer, and that is uh, uh, what all we need to do to be really world class. It's very simple. Uh, our quality levels are, first of all, the design. The design may be almost world class. What is purchased from industry, let me tell you, is almost world class. We have to only maintain that we don't unnecessarily go and proliferate sources. So that is by and large being done. But what we do today, for it to be world class, you have to bring in more quality culture, because in government system it's still is a system of proliferation of vendors and level playing fields. It is unfortunate, right? Because all the vendors who can do good jobs are not at the same level. They are different levels. If you provide a level playing field, then you are biting yourself. Uh, so that we have to shed that. That's to improve the kind of product we already have. And otherwise, there is no replacement, as I keep saying, of doing their own. Borrowing technology would always keep you 15, 20 years behind. I cannot today, railways, our engineers cannot make a train which will run at 300 or 350 kilometers per hour. It's coming from Japan. So two things. First, it's coming from Japan, but unfortunately, while it will be built here, tomorrow if we want to have another 350-kilometer of train or little different design, that expertise we would not have gathered, because the Japanese are not being forced to tell us that. Nobody does that. Actually, you actually learn only superficially. I hope with such a huge money we are spending on high-speed train, it's not a small money, it's our money. People say it's a soft loan. There is nothing like a soft loan. They give you a soft loan and then they force you to buy the trains from them at a heavy price. So it's fair enough. That's the way to do business. But we must force them that this is our train and you have to tell us. You have to make your people sit with us so that next time we don't need you or need you that much. That should happen. It's not happening. And when I say doing our own, okay, 350 we cannot do, but we can do 240. We have done 180. I can do trains at 240. It may fail initially, but we will reach there by doing our. Question would arise, you will make this train, where will it run? We don't have the track for that. So I will, if I was going to head it, I will make it in standard gauge, which is becoming available between Ahmedabad and Mumbai. And I will run it on that. So Japanese would say, why on a 320 km per hour track, you will run at 240 km per hour. So you will slow it down. I'll say you will run it in the off busy time. But it is my track. I will run it. I will prove to myself that I can also make it 240. This kind of bold experimentation only can take us far. Otherwise, we'll be perpetually importing technology and we'll be 20 years behind. That's as far as the technology and world class is concerned. Your second question is closer to my heart. We are going to be developed by before 2047. Okay, look at the way our common people travel in trains. Is that something India can afford as a developed country? Or is that something you can ever see in a developed country where people are packed like sardines with no dignity and no comfort? Comfort is later, there is no dignity in their travel. But those poor people have to travel because whatever be the reason, migrant laborers or so, they have no means but to travel. And this is how they are carried. And they, of course, pay very little fare. So it's no good saying that they pay very little, so this is how we'll carry them. A developed country is not going to say that. So what's the solution? My solution, which is to everyone's mind generally is very impractical, but I strongly believe in that, is make travel comfortable and air conditioned for everyone. Some people do not like AC, so don't have one or two coaches, you can have non-AC. Make everything air conditioned. Don't charge them extra fare, mind you what I'm saying, because they cannot pay today. But empower them to be able to pay when India is developed, 15, 20 years from now. But you need to start now. The non-air conditioned coaches which you make today is going to last you 30 years, 36 years. Are you going to have those coaches in 2055? You can't even begin to imagine that kind of thing in a developed country. So start thinking now. Now, how do you do it? Where does the money come from if you make everything expensive? It's not going to, really, it's not going to be that expensive. It's all in our mind. Don't subsidize any higher class travel. AC first is subsidized today. Can you believe it? Only AC3 and AC chair car are earners. Rest are all subsidized. Why? Why should I subsidize an AC first traveler? I will charge more to fund my better comfort for common man. So they say people will not travel then. So let them not travel. But why should I subsidize higher class fare? So the thinking has to change that India cannot go on whatever Vandey Bharat or Super Vandey Bharat or whatever. But unless you look after the common man and the way they travel, unless you empower them, your dream to be a developed country is not going to be realized. One must start talking about it. We just say with blinkers that we are going to be developed in 2047. With this, no. Look at any general class coach. Is that imaginable in a developed country? What are we doing to address that? That's a question close to my heart. I'm powerless to do anything, but at least I can talk about it.
Sir, can you
Thank you,
can we
sir.
have
I think-
some quick questions from the chat box? Because quite a few people have taken trouble to write them.
Yeah. Can I
Please,
invite
quick.
Mr. Nikhil? Nikhil, you want to say, you want to ask any question? Because you put it in the chat box that Sir Nikhil, he is a student from SMIRSE college, and his
Mhm.
question is that in the current market, we have seen very hardworking people who love their job and self-motivated, giving 18 hours a day, but are doing job hoping, and it has been tough to maintain retentions of high-value employees. How do we use the leadership to better manage it? His question is that I don't have enough experience in leadership. If you can share your wisdom.
Is it there in chat box? Then I can as well read
Yes,
it.
yes, it is a very lengthy. You can ask. It is in the
Hello.
chat box.
With the betterment of technology in manufacturing, is that the question? No.
So then he want to ask. He want to take your wisdom, your guidance, your leadership under your leadership.
So I didn't get
Nikhil,
the
why don't
question.
you unmute yourself and ask yourself so it will be easier
Hello.
for Mr. Sudhanshu to.
Hello, everyone.
Mr. Nikhil, you are there. You can unmute
Yes.
yourself and ask the
Am
question.
I audible? Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Yes. So, thank you for the wonderful session. And my question is that in the current market, we have seen a lot of people are very hardworking and are taking extra opportunities and they love their job. They're very motivated, giving 18 hours a day to the job. But the issue is that they're not or staying in that company for very long. Usually they skip that company and go for another company for better opportunities or go to another country. So how do we maintain such talent as a leader to retain in India, to keep the growth of India growing? Because what may happen in the future that the best talents we may have, the hardworking people, you say to the people who are not working hard, you should remove them from your team. But the ones who are working hard are leaving and going to other developed countries for better opportunities. How do we retain them?
So you're talking of people migrating from company to company or people migrating from India
Both.
abroad?
I think both.
You're
Uh,
Yes,
talking about.
both. And specifically the ones we want to keep.
okay.
I agree with the idea of removing the people who don't work very hard and having a very motivated group of people who give the extra uh, effort in growing the company and they love their job. There's no lack of passion, but due to lack of opportunities or maybe many reasons, they're leaving and not lasting for very long in any particular company or organization.
Okay, so there are many reasons, and in a brief answer, it is difficult to cover everything. I'll give you only one example, and there's so many things which we have to think. And first of all, there is no gainsaying that you can come and stop somebody's ambition to progress. That's inherent to human, and you have to look at it from that window. You're right. If you don't see opportunities, if you don't see that pleasure in working and so on, people would migrate, and you cannot curse them. Everyone looks for better. Now, one thing that I wanted to say is always, you see, this when this question of opportunities and the spirit of innovation and the ecosystem of innovation, people talk of companies, that Indian companies do not do enough R&D and they don't invest in R&D, which is all right, but I think greater responsibility rests with the government. Because you see, government is much bigger spender than these private companies. Government has a budget which runs into lakhs and lakhs of crores. And fortunately, as I say, government has no bottom line. One of the reasons I could build the train was there was no bottom line. If there was a bottom line, there would be 1,000 questions. Is it profitable? Will this train make money? Will this? We never looked at that. We just said empathy to find out if there's a requirement. Design thinking to me if there's a requirement. Yes, there was a requirement by the operating staff, by people, by passengers, and so on. So the government is in a happy or unhappy situation where there's no bottom, and they have huge money. What they need to do is create not a level playing field, but a field totally skewed in favor of Indian companies, startups, or any company or any product. Deliberately keep a field which encourages these companies and indemnifies them or protects them against failure of a product which the government or somebody wants. That will take some doing. But without that, to expect that government will only work like Sarkari organizations and private companies would come and turn out product after product. No, government is a spender. Government must give assured orders. Government must look at next 10 years. And you can see huge ecosystem of innovation developing in the country. And that will, I'm sure, retain many people, because that freedom of action and freedom to innovate is also something that takes people away from here, apart from the economic well-being. That, will get addressed as India gets more developed. But this has to be taken up firmly for development.
What
Mr.
I
Modi,
suggest that Renu read out the name of the questioner and he can raise hands and unmute him and speak. So one by one, I think those questions will be taken up.
Yes, yes, sure.
Just read out the
invite
name
you for the
and the
question.
questioner will sort of raise their hand and speak up, unmute.
Okay.
One
Mr.
question
Mani,
I can, one is from
Rashmi Sharma.
Rashmi Sharma, who has
Yeah.
asked me a very simple question. So Mr. Sridharan is my idol, and I never worked with him. I met him sometimes. He wrote a foreword for my book, and my
Lovely.
favorite leader. So my dream project would be nothing. My dream project would be to work with him. That itself would be my dream. I answered that question.
Sir, I just wanted to add in a bit to what you've said earlier, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
You said that there are certain areas where government needs to focus and give special attention. And I think that point of yours can be amply displayed in the fact that organizations like ISRO and DRDO,
Yes.
okay, which the government nurtured over the years, today have become the landmark for so many, not only corporates, but countries across the world. So I think
Absolutely.
a similar sort of practice needs to be.
Absolutely. You are very right. So we don't have to go far. Just not so much as DRDO, but definitely look at ISRO. ISRO has done all of us so much proud. It's world class, truly world class today.
And there are some private companies also who are coming up to the world standards, isn't it?
So in fact,
Yes, of
the
course.
ISRO MSME program has opened out. I think there are more than 1,500 small and medium enterprises who are now become vendors to ISRO.
Yeah,
That is forcing them to meet standards which are global.
absolutely. But I'm sure, although I have no knowledge of it, but I'm sure ISRO, they do this work not only for money but for pride, and also they do this work with some kind of assurance from ISRO in respect of future projects and so on. So definitely you chose a very good example. So as I said, you don't have to go far. And what stands out is ISRO is very, very obvious. When I talk to ISRO people, they say, no, we also have bureaucracy. But I tell them that you can't imagine the kind of bureaucracy everyone else has. You have the least. And so the very simple two reasons which I assign to ISRO's success, I hope they agree. One is, of course, they have to work in an environment of denial of technology. So they don't have the option like Indian Railways to rush to somebody and buy something from abroad. They don't have that. So they have to perforce work and develop their own, and which is good. And number two, of course, is perhaps an organization directly under PMO and not much bureaucracy. These are the two reasons for their success, I would like to think.
So the next question.
I think, sir, we have finished with all the questions. Anybody
Okay.
want to ask the question? You can unmute yourself.
Renuji, I'll take 1 minute.
Yes.
Just 1 minute. So, as I talked about the negativity, that was the period after retirement. We'll not talk about it, but we were never afraid because everyone knew nothing wrong has been done, and it's all a matter of time. It's all jealous and corrupt people who are trying to do it. That's a part. But I was blogging about it, and then I realized something which was very important. Because as the leader, I was getting all this limelight. Like today, you've invited me. So many people invite me as the face of Vande Bharat, and all the appreciation, love entirely came my way, which was so undeserved because it was done by a great team. You see, nothing could have been done without this team. And most of these members remained unknown and unsung. And that's when I decided to jot down the story in this book and call out each and every team member who contributed and who remained unknown and unsung. Call them out by name and call out their contribution in the form of a story. Uh, all of them are mentioned in this book, which is called My Train 18 Story. As Mr. Mathur mentioned, it's available on Amazon. And I really hope I've been able to do justice to not forgetting anyone who made a major contribution to the train. So I just wanted to share that with you. Please go ahead.
Can I say something, sir?
Please.
Yes, please.
You know,
Yes,
Pramod
please,
Bhai,
sir.
yeah,
just
yeah.
before you come in,
Yeah,
Mani sir, Mr. Pramod Shah is the Vice President of Bombay Management Association,
Great.
and he has 5 decades of experience in the industry and serves many multinational
no,
companies.
sir, I-
Pramod Bhai, while I would
yeah.
also like you to then, after you've spoken, do the vote of thanks on our
Okay.
behalf, BME.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll do that.
Yes, Mr. Shah, please go ahead.
Mr. Mani, I'm very much delighted to listen to you. And
Sir, your
also to
face
see
is
you
not
personally.
fully visible. If you can lower
Yeah.
your screen, that would be better.
You know, mention of it,
Yeah, okay.
Okay, can you listen to me, sir?
Yeah.
Yes,
Uh,
Pramod Bhai.
okay,
Yeah.
please go ahead.
Chalo, can you listen? No. Yeah, so I would like to congratulate our Mr. Mani as a very good, excellent speaker, excellent personality, and hip hop knowledge, you know, which he has shared with our members today. Actually, I joined late slightly because I had some other commitment, but I thought that I should not miss out. So I came running from the court and I said I will attend this event also, very well organized by my president, Mr. Kiran Yadav. And we are also grateful to Mr. Mathur for the excellent moderation also. And I think we'll have more occasions to meet you personally when you are in town, and we can organize a half-day program to be addressed by you on the various concepts of leadership and how you are motivated to see that the train is running very well. See, so this is a sort of a gist of talk what you have given. We are proud and we'll be able to share with our members also. We will put it on YouTube so more people will be able to share their knowledge and the experience. And we would only say come again and also try to share your experience, your knowledge, your talent to our members also. And we have a young crowd also with us, so they will certainly benefit. And the question put by Mr. Nikhil was very apt when he mentioned that people are leaving job one after other, go for they become slightly greedy and go to other job, but then the Rolling Stone doesn't get as much, you know. So that point has to be kept in mind that there is a lot of scope for the youngsters to come up and various schemes of the our new government and our present government is also in office. So they will certainly try to take benefit of it. Incidentally, Mr. Mani, I would like to mention I have been a former chairman of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and I run a consultancy firm with a staff of around 45 people on the secretarial, legal, and finance aspects of the corporate world, with my son and my other colleagues. And we would request you to visit us when we are in town next in the visit to Mumbai. We'll certainly bring you to our office and try to see that you are just my staff also, apart from what you have been doing today also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Sure.
So, Dr. Yadav, do we close down?
Yeah, Mathur sir, any final comments you would like to
Well, I think,
share on behalf of BMA and LMA?
yeah, well, thank you very much, Mr. Mani. You were brilliant as usual, and you are different in your different presentations, I must say, that I've heard earlier, and great lessons in leadership and very radical views, I must say, particularly in environment of government work. Of course, big companies are coming up and they are doing great work internationally. And there is a slow but very slow movement in the government organizations also the very fact that these trains are now seen in the Indian Railways shows that there is a change. There is some change, though, as you say, slowly, but it's coming. So let's be optimistic, and surely there are great times to come, and we hope. And of course, your suggestions about taking care of the underprivileged by the railway is very apt, and I'm sure it will be addressed in the time to come. So thank you very much, and thank you everyone. Thank you, Dr. Yadav, uh, for attending, organizing this session, and all participants from Bombay Management Association. So thank you, Mr. Sudhanshu Mani,
Thank you,
and
sir.
we hope
Thank you,
to meet again sometime.
Yes, sure.
And so we sign off.
And I look forward to having your other 6 books also in the BMA office very soon, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.